that are based on
how did your thought
residuals on information,
start?
whereas on the web, you realize that
I can tell my journey from the very beginning, which is my journey, is that I
to make a copy.
am a robotics guy.
So given that it doesn't cost you anything to make a
building
copy,
all kinds of forts
how
in
can
my
you view that
backyard
as an
and
advantage?
skateboard ramps and things
People
like
who
that.
are in current business view it as a
lots of building
disadvantage
stuff
because
out
they
of wood.
have
And
made
then
their
at some
business
point,
model around selling
I
copies.
watched a lot of TV as well as
and
a kid.
you
in
can
high
argue
school,
whether
and
it's
that
right or not to sell
started
copies.
playing with Legos and
And
Transformers.
that's not an
and
argument I'm
G.I.
interested
Joe
in
and
getting
Star
into.
Wars and Star Trek.
The argument I'd like to have is, well, let's
And
just
since
say
I was good at science and
it doesn't cost
and
any
math,
money to
I
make
wanted
copies,
to build
and
robots.
you want to view that as an advantage.
And what I didn't realize at
Then
the time, of course,
what
is
would
that
be
my
your business
desire to
model that
build
would make that an
robots
advantage?
was a product of the media
And
that I had consumed.
That's also a large
And I went to
motivation
school
for
and I spent 15 years
sort of these public media devices where the
basements and
devices,
whatever.
you pay to use the
Really
device,
long hours learning
but the
how
media
to
created is then free
create
for
machines that were
all, permanently stored in
pretty
the public
fancy
domain.
and
And so
some
you're
level,
paying
was
for access
world
to and
expert
from
in-
the public domain,
in
and you realize that that's a
robotics,
value-added
legged
service.
robotics,
Intelligent
artificial
for
limbs.
things like this, to be able to have access to this but shared public memory. Inevitably, that I think my enables initial love for these collaboration things was kind of based on
helps
the
people
media
work together.
rather than the actual work. And then eventually the actual work kind of wore on me. A lot of it because it was funded by the military and some of that behind it. And if we want to look
as I
at
got
into artwork,
Both the
more
stock
into
market
art, I
and
kept making
the
machines.
system of law and government, we see that both the stock market and the system of
Because it
law
was
and
a
government,
skill
and
that I
even
had.
say
It's a
sports,
skill I still have. But
sports
I
is
began
based
to
heavily
understand
on
more
this
and more,
idea
especially
of
as I
record keeping.
watched the web, and I guess at some
Keeping
point
the
I
stats of
decided
all
to
the
quit
hitters and
TV.
the basketball players
only
and the
did the web.
quarterbacks.
So that was
So
something
stats
that
are all
happened
available.
back, in the
College
in
or
banks.
something like
There's
that.
always the records,
And then
of
that
the
changed my
how the stocks
appearance
go
of
up and
media,
down,
and I thought the
the
web
trading
was the
rates.
salvation.
in the courtroom, and there's a record of all these
I can keep
transactions
doing all
and
this
in the
stuff.
courtroom.
And
And then suddenly I
there's a
realized
record
at
of
one
everything
point
that's said in the courtroom.
that
And there's
for all of my
books upon
friends who
books
have the
upon
web,
books of
most
all the
people don't have the
previous
web.
court cases that have happened.
And that
The-
allows you
the
to have
majority of the world
for this
still
courtroom
runs on
to be this
television.
trusted space.
It allows the stock market to be this place where you say, well, everything that's happening here is this public transaction.
And that shapes politics,
Obviously, there's something to record
That
keeping in
shapes
transactions that
economics,
is important.
that shapes
for
the environment,
organization.
shapes what we buy,
And we just like to make these mechanisms smaller.
shapes the sort of how much time we spend
Smaller
inside versus outside, and how much
But
trust
still
we have in our government,
networked to the larger,
and how we
Internet.
interact with our
and that also then
communities.
you can take advantage of free
Shapes everything.
free internet services, social networking, etc.
So what would a student of yours be able to do?
And so that's
semester in your class, and then what did you want to? What are you hoping for?
I mean, I guess the thing is that
Deep breathing.
I mean, I want
touching
to make
toes.
tools.
Tools.
That's a great
for-
question. I'd say I don't really know the answer to that, but I would hope I would hope that they would
shared physical spaces.
shared media
What I
tools
hope
for
is
shared
the
physical
question after
spaces.
the term.
I hope that they would have this desire
Public
and
media
this
devices
empowerment to
and
just
public
go
media
out and
channels.
implement something that are unfiltered
And
by
what
I want the
experts.
class is to have an overview of existing online systems, but I think most of these kids have that already, right? They have maybe more than I have that allow for small but the thing that I would really want to push in the class is the implementation, documentation of true
Get students
collaboration
out there trying
where
these things out right
current
away.
media
And
systems
the
and
minute they
current
got out of my class, they'd know that
predominant
they could keep trying
storytelling
those things and that
apparatus
pushing them
apparati
to implement
are always And
winner take
the
all
implementation,
hero
whether it be right or
narratives.
wrong, just the implementation is the important part, right? To actually go out there and run an experiment, because the systems are changing fast and more important than ever.
It's
And
not
I guess the
about
one thing I didn't
sitting in your
fo-
room for a
touch
year
on, and maybe
coming up
would
with the
ask
right
about
answer.
this, I don't
It's
know if
about
this is the
going
time
out
to say
there
it or not. It's just this
running
idea
an
of
experiment with some people
randomness
in the world and see what
and
happens.
the way the reward systems are structured, and that because of these large media systems